Hey, salutations, my friend. Greetings, greetings, greetings. I send you love. I send you love in abundance. I send you greetings in abundance from Northwest, from the inner sectum of my life, the soul of my life flows love and a lot of peace unto you. Because in peace, we can have a conversation. The story of my life is not unique. I have a suspicion you have a story about your life. But let's take turns. Let it be my turn today. I think I had two Ukurasas, 2 chapters of my life that maybe you had a sneak preview, maybe you subscribed, maybe you liked, maybe you hit the notification button that says you can get notices when I'm sharing myself, when I'm rapturing myself. Is 2 enough? They say where there are 2 witnesses, the witness must withstand the threshold of the truth. Is 2 enough for my life? 2 episodes, or what, 2 chapters? Ukurasa, moja, mbili. Let's go to the Tatu, the 3rd one. This is the trilogy of my life. How does it sound? Let me give you a little bit of a review of how far we've come as far as my life is concerned. Well, last time I shared slightly, I gave you that narrow view of growing up in a small town of Chemaner, Kericho, Rift Valley, those ends of Kenya. How I struggled to understand why authority wanted to kill me, a teacher. How the beatings is child abuse. Let's not call it anything else, okay? I'm declaring the end of child abuse for me and for everybody else growing up in that world. There should be no more of those discipline that involves brutality, my friend. Oh, today, what day was it today? I think it's customer service day, is it? Yes. Let me give you the service that comes from the heart. Anyway, yeah, last time I did that, and maybe you understood me slightly. Because you might see me at this age, I'm over 50. I'm in the 5th floor of life. I might be in certain rooms or 5th floor. So you can add the numbers on top of 5. I'm in the 5th floor. I don't know where you are, which floor you're in, but enjoy the view of life from the floor you're in. So, my life at that age, 6, 7, is unknown to me, but it's embedded in my memory. Maybe because of trauma, excitement, lostlessness. Is that a word? Where you just lost. Let's just simplify that. And so those are the beginnings. They are tender. They inform me a lot of whom I am, even to this day. I have some good memories. I think I have good memory of my childhood. I think one day I'll hear your story too. But for now, as I say, give me your ears. Give me a moment, okay? I think moving from that location that I tried to pivot into my life and give you that locale. One thing that speaks after that for me is the nomadic lifestyle of my father. As a pastor, he was so nomadic. He was on the move every year. He was being moved from one church. He didn't have one church, by the way. Over here in America, I think a pastor is involved or is in charge of one, maybe church, barely 2. My dad, I think, had not just a congregation, a church, but he had a congregation of churches, and they were scattered everywhere. And I don't know whether he got traveling allowance because he had a motorbike. Listen, I'm not sure. I had a conversation with my father about being a pastor and the logistics and how the system works. But one thing I know, he was never home. My father was hardly home. It's one of those things I look back and I think is a problem. I think you can see from that smirk on my face as a problem. He was an amazing father figure because of his occupation. I think the church had one thing and one thing in mind. Go ye out, preach in Samaria, Jerusalem, and to the edges of the universe, and baptize them. That was his calling, my friend. I don't know how that worked for families. It reminds me of people maybe in this country, the military, where they are moving from one, I don't know, what is it, Coast Guards? Well, I know of Coast Guards. When I was in Astoria, they used to have these movements. You know, you are moving from one place to another. And it's illogical to families, but it's logic to the enterprise. The enterprise of the Seventh-day Adventist. All they care is about dipping them, registering them, and telling them they are saved. So he went around saving souls. He moved around saving souls. He moved around preaching. I sound sarcastic. I'm not, but I'm not. I think those are facts. I can recall that at 2 years old, we were in Uganda, the neighboring country. I think we were under the care or caregiver of a maid. I don't know how that maid performs in my life. There's relatives that came into the fray and played the role of taking care of me and my older brother. I don't know how that works out, but me thinks it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Because mother, I think, was still going to school at a certain point. She was trying to have education. My dad was going to school in Uganda. There's a lot of moving parts. It's so fragmented. It needs, trust me, there's no glue. I'm just trying to put this for you to understand me. Hopefully you can appreciate me when I rapture and share myself. Yeah, so those beginnings informs me of this idea of nomadic, moving, and all that. And I think there were some places that my mother could not join us when my father moved, so it was me and my older brother who moved with my father. We went to Nyandarua, Kipipiri, the central part of Kenya, very cold part of the central part of Kenya. We stayed there for a year. I think my uncle was there, staying with us. I think it was the worst school I ever went to. Schools have never been good to me as a child, okay? Between the age of 5 to 10, even good until I went to high school, I don't think school was good to me. I think that is the one place I can say I felt very unsafe and protected because teachers had their way when things don't go their way. They were very colonial in their methods of discipline. And I remember when we moved with my brother and Andrew and my dad to Nyandarua, I think a teacher went on what I call the second sequel of abuse. And I won't share the details because it's not good. I don't think I was a bad kid. I'm just telling you I'm not a bad kid. I don't think I've been bad. I was just a restless kid because I felt very unsafe most of the time. And I was very vigilant. Very curious. I think I was a smart kid, but I don't think the class, I think maybe they call it these days ADHD and whatever that attention deficit thing is. Maybe I had that, but I think for me, this comes from very early in my life because I never felt safe. I never had that nurturing. I was always in the hands of anybody but my parents. I don't recall that cuddling, that embrace, that hug, that, hey, let me tell you a story before you go to bed. I think it's something that is a foundation. is very shaky. It is the ecosystem, is where I grew up, and so that is, you see I'm moving a lot. I'm in Uganda, I'm in Nyandarua, and I think we went to Tanzania, took a boat from Kisumu, Mwanza, took a train all the way to Bugoma, Kigoma, the other side, the extreme side of Tanzania, and I recall the train. I think I was 6 years old. One of the best train rides I ever had, and I remember my father cooking for us when we had a stop. We had a little stove, and he could pump the stove, and he cooked. We had a meal. I asked my brother, he remembers that. People have their own memories. It was the best ride on a train I ever had as a kid, one of the longest. I think we had our own room. It's a private family room, and an incident happened when we were getting on a boat to Kisumu to Mwanza, which tells you how my life is not in human hands for me. I think there's a deck, when you're in a boat, there's a deck where people walk and you can go to your room. And my restlessness, this vigilance, this character of myself growing up, so I hoisted myself and I sat hanging on the deck at the top. And my life pretty much was one way, it was one drop away to oblivion, and nobody would have known what happened to me. And my father caught me, maybe saved me, so to speak. I think I can say this about my father, he saved me more than anybody else. And he grabbed me because I was high, sitting like a stupid kid. And I remember, this tells me, remember the accident of a father in San Diego? For you guys who watch TikTok and YouTube and all that stuff, he had his baby or a child, and they were sitting on a big boat. And for some reason, he lost it, and the kid plummeted or dropped to his death. That was me, but I'm here, going to Tanzania. My father took me out of there, locked me in the room. I don't remember getting out of the room after that moment. So I'm here to tell you that it is this father, maybe I'm emphasizing, that I can see a lot, kind of holding my hand. And I'll finish the story for him as we go, sharing about who he is and the fact that you can tell I'm missing the guy because he passed away. Because if it was my mother, no details allowed. My father, I think all he did was make sure I was safe. So that is that, and then we went to Tanzania. We were there for a year or two. If I remember, my dad was going to train as a pastor in Harry Hospital. It's part of Loma Linda here in California, an affiliate of the church schools that they had established in Africa. And he did his associate there in pastoral. Yeah, he's invested in the church, isn't he? And my mother was doing nursing. So my mom has a diploma in nursing. And so we were there for that long. And during that time too, in Tanzania, back in I think it was 72 or 73. I don't know that range. Maybe that's the years. Those are the years. The year 73, 74. I have to ask somebody else on which year. But I can still remember many things. I remember my dad taking one of his first flights. He took a plane. They were flying somewhere with Mr. Stanford. His name, it was Pastor Stanford or Professor. And I remember sitting there as a kid and I was waving from a fence. Hi Dad, I love you, Father. And he was flying out in a small plane. That's my childhood memory of my father. Maybe he's a hero that I missed. So yeah, it's for movements, for all that schooling, for all that my father was, for all that the church put in place, this nomadic and fragmented and a lot of movement for my dad to be a pastor. It's really something that I think it either kept me close to my father because we were always moving with him, or it is the reason I miss him more. I don't know which one is which. But yeah, so those movements, those are the lot of movements that we had. I think it stopped when I was about, 12 years old. We found a place where my mom lives now. And And I think for me, there's this vacuum. There's this space that is missing parents. It's missing father mostly. Because mother was there, don't get me wrong. But that's a story that is for another session. So, yeah, and I think it is this father maybe I'm hoisting here and talking about that tells me a lot about me as a person, and the fact that I never had a chance to talk to him about this and what I missed. And I think I would have told him this, not in a missing way, not in a blaming way. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's my life at that early formation. I think in the next one, maybe we'll talk about how being athletic, loving sports, gives me another, maybe a spiritual realm, and I escape from maybe what I didn't have. Because one thing I started seeing very early in my life is that because I didn't have that nucleus family, I crafted myself to other families. I always envy families. I always like, oh man, I wish we had this. That's everybody's yearning and envy when they're growing up. But for me, it was that lack of oasis, a place where you can share. And I think I've spoken to some of my siblings, and I think some of them might agree with me, and they see that maybe because I'm more vocal. I think I share more about my life and the life of the family that I grew up in. And I think it's just acknowledging it as is. And again, that was just a small rapture. Like I say, I'm sharing myself, hoping that in doing so, you can start to know who I am. Really? You know me? I'm not scared. I'm scared. I feel vulnerable. Oh, what you gonna do about that? Nothing. Love, because guess what? A story of anybody's story is their story. It affirms them, validates them, puts them in the space of the universe. So when I talk about my story, it's nothing unique. It's acknowledging my space. It's taking ownership of my life and making sure that nobody else can tell the story better than me. There's a story told by four people, four gospels tells about one person, because in telling the story, it validates the existence. I've been validated, man, of my existence. Hey, it is with love. It starts and finishes. I need to start going.